Hi, everyone. Welcome to Coeur d'Alene Conquer the Course. We will go ahead and get started here. One second. Today we'll be hearing from Dr. Jeff Sankoff. He is the TriDoc, an emergency physician, triathlete, and a coach with life sport. He is the host of two popular triathlon podcasts, the TriDoc podcast and Tempo Talks. Jeff has been involved in triathlon for more than 20 years, progressing from a back of the pack age grouper to an age group champion and multiple world champion qualifier at both the 70.3 and full Ironman distances. He brings his experience as both a competitor and physician to his coaching, where he works with athletes of all backgrounds to help them become the best version of themselves and achieve their goals while staying healthy and maintaining a sustainable balance between their training and their real life obligations. Today, Jeff is going to be giving us an overview of all things Ironman 70.3 Coeur d'Alene, and we're super excited to hear from him. If you have any questions, you can find the information in the chat of how to send messages to Jeff and Juliet at Life Sport Coaching. And with that, I will hand it over to Jeff.
Thanks, Tegan. And hello, everybody. You could see my slides okay, Tegan?
Yes, you're good.
Perfect. All right. Awesome. Well, I'm really happy to be here to talk about Ironman Coeur d'Alene. This is a race that I've done several times over the years through its various iterations, and it's something that I really love to share with people who are doing it for the first time, or if you're doing it for the seventh time. It's an amazing race if you don't already know, and if you do, then you know why you're going back, as it really is in a spectacular location on a really, really fun and yes, challenging course. I will follow up with what Tegan was just saying and introduce myself to you again. I have been in triathlon for more than 20 years. It has become a very big part of who I am. It's a real passion. And I have been everywhere in the group. I have been a back of the backer all the way to the front. More recently, as an age group winner several times over, I have been to the 70.3 World Championship several times. Had the great pleasure of racing in Marbella back in September, and we'll be going to Nice this coming September. So very excited about all of that. I've been to Kona a couple of times as an Ironman qualifier. I write medical content related to triathlon and endurance sport for various publications, including Triathlete Magazine. And I've been a coach, Ironman certified for 6 years. I work with life sport coaching and have athletes both here at home and all around the world. And it gives me just a great joy to share everything I have learned in the sport with them. And for the past 7 years, I've been producing the TriDoc podcast, which is a podcast that brings together health and wellness and triathlon, all of my various passions. And I also more recently started working with professional triathlete Matt Sharp on the Tempo Talks podcast, which comes out on a weekly basis. And you can find both of those wherever you get your podcast content. But today, I'm going to be talking to you about Coeur d'Alene 70.3. That's why you're here. This race offers a lot of just amazing reasons to do it if you haven't already. It is set, as I mentioned before, in just a beautiful location. The swim is in one of the most pristine lakes you can imagine. It is just a beautiful, beautiful, calm lake swim. The bike course is challenging, but exceptionally beautiful and offers a very, very fast finish. It is well supported along a run course that weaves through some neighborhoods of Coeur d'Alene itself and then back through the center of the city. And it is supported by one of the more enthusiastic communities that you will encounter on any Ironman or 70.3 course. So a lot of reasons to be here. I want to give you a little bit of a lay of the land if you haven't been to Coeur d'Alene before. So what we're looking at here is the waterfront of Coeur d'Alene. I will overlay the map of the course very shortly, but the swim actually takes place on this area right here. The Coeur d'Alene Hotel can be found right here. That's the Coeur d'Alene Resort, I should say. It's a major resort where a lot of people will actually have reservations to stay. This road here, Northwest Boulevard, is where the bike course finishes. And if you go a little bit further north along this road, you'll get to the highway. And that's where a lot of the motels and hotels are located. So anybody who's coming in from Spokane or from further west, like Seattle, will likely be staying at one of those hotels or motels a little bit north along this road. And it only takes about three, 4 minutes by car to get down to the waterfront. And this large park is where Transition is located and where the village is located where you will do a lot of the pre-race activities. The race will actually finish in this park area down over here. Sorry, just navigating back to my other um, slide. Okay, so here is what the swim course looks like. It is a single lap of a U shape. Basically, you will start on the beach. You will head straight out, cross to the last buoy. Buoys always remaining on your left. The first red buoy is designed to make a left-hand turn. You swim, I want to say it's maybe 150, maybe 200. I think that's even stretching it. It's probably about 150 meters before you make another left-hand turn and then head all the way back to the beach where you then exit and move your way into the park for where Transition is. The water is very nice. I always wetsuit legal. I don't think that there's ever been a time it's not been wetsuit legal. It tends to be in the mid to high 60s. It's very, very comfortable. It's not terribly cold. And it is the kind of swim that you will very much enjoy. The sighting is it's a little bit difficult only because the shore is so far away. But there's no issue with the sun. The sun is going to be coming from over the mountains to the on this image on the far right. But as you're swimming out, it's going to be coming from your left, and as you're swimming back, it's going to be coming from your right. It never really gets in your eyes because there's a ridge of hills that kind of blocks the sun in the morning, which is really nice. So you never have to worry about being blinded by the sun. However, sighting to get a straight line, there's nothing you could really focus on the opposite shore because the shore is so far away. But the buoys are very visible, and it's very easy to just obviously follow the swimmers behind you. So, sorry, swimmers ahead of you. So really easy to do. It is a self-seated swim start, which I'm going to discuss in a little more detail on the next slide. If you've never done that, that will make sense in just a second. Everybody gets 1 hour and 10 minutes to complete the swim, no matter where you start. And one of the things I always tell people, and if you've never done an open water swim before, find some feet. All that means is, when you're swimming in the pool, you're swimming by yourself and you don't really get the benefit of having anybody pulling you along. But if you can find somebody who's swimming just a little bit faster than you and you can get on their feet and kind of hang on to them, it takes away, number one, the need to sight all the time because you can let them do the sighting for you. And number two, it really creates a draft, which can dramatically impact your ability to go much faster at the same effort. So as much as you can, really try to get on somebody's feet and follow them along the buoys, but make sure they're going in a straight line by sighting yourself periodically. So I want to talk about the swim start, which I mentioned is a self-seated swim start. This is what the beach looks like at Coeur d'Alene. What you will do is once you've dealt with all of your things in Transition, you are going to move from Transition to the corral. And you are going to line yourself up and you are going to put yourself in a seating that is going to be according to your swim time. And people are going to be along this corral with signs that will say times on them. So at the front, you're going to have the sub 25-minute swimmers, then you'll have 25 to 28, and then so on down the line till the very end where you have like 107 to 110. It behooves you to put yourself in a time that makes sense, that actually is as close to your time as possible. And the reason for that is because if you put yourself too close to the front thinking, well, I need to give myself more time so that I can actually make the swim cutoff, you're not actually doing that because everybody, no matter when they enter the water, gets 1 hour and 10 minutes. If you enter the water at the front, the clock starts when you cross the timing mat. Four of you will start at a time. Four or five of you will start at a time to avoid too much contact, too much crowding. And When you cross the timing mat, the clock starts and you get 1 hour and 10 minutes. If you start at the front, if you start at the back, if you start in the middle, it doesn't matter where you start. Everybody gets the same amount of time. So moving yourself up this line to start somewhere towards the front, if you're not a fast swimmer, is not helping you. It's actually making it more potentially uncomfortable for you because then you'll be surrounded by swimmers who are much faster than you, who will potentially swim over you, around you, and make more contact for you, which will not be comfortable. So, as much as you can, put yourself where you actually belong time wise. Be honest. You should have a good sense of what your 100-meter or 200-meter or 500-meter swim time is. And then you can extrapolate from that to get a sense of what your 1900-meter swim time will be. If you're not sure, then guesstimate and always be a little bit, be honest with yourself. Give yourself a little bit more time to complete it, especially if it's your first time swimming in an open water race. And then seed yourself appropriately. Once you hit the water, just focus on one buoy to the next. Just make it, each buoy is about 100 meters apart. Just keep swimming one buoy to the next, make that turn, head for home. Towards the end, the swim can feel a little bit long, but just keep reminding yourself you've done the training, swim's almost done, count strokes, just keep focusing on the next buoy, and before you know it, you'll be out of the water. You'll be fine. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about some issues around race morning as you come down to the race before the swim begins, and that is related to parking. There's no major big parking lots in this area, but there is plenty of surface parking. So most people will head down to the race generally a couple of hours before race time. Transition for this race opens, I believe, I want to say at 4:30, 5 o'clock. I'm sorry, check the athlete guide. It will tell you exactly what time. And most people will be there. You don't have to be there exactly when transition opens, but you should probably be there a good hour to an hour and a half before the race starts so that you give yourself enough time to get everything that you need to get done in transition and be ready for the race. You don't need to be there hours and hours in advance. Just be there early enough so that you can give yourself time to walk down to transition, get yourself set up. Surface parking is available on the streets, either out in the suburbs areas, just on the other side of the park, or even in the downtown area. You will be able to find parking. You may have to walk a little bit, but you will be able to find parking. Just get down there early enough. You could have a friend or family member drop you off close to the swim start, and then they can go find parking and walk down. And after the race, it's easy to get back to your car as well. So be respectful of the neighbors. Don't park in front of a driveway. Don't double park or anything like that. But there is plenty of parking and you won't have an issue getting to where you need to go. So one other thing before you start to swim, remember that you will have arrived in the morning for your race. It will generally be usually a couple of hours since you've eaten breakfast, and you don't want to get in the water without having had anything to eat since that time. So I usually tell my athletes, make sure you bring a gel or a pack of chews or something like that. So maybe 20 minutes before you are going to start your race, have 100 calories or so in that format, either a gel or some chews, so that you have some energy and you're ready to go for that swim. And then once you get in the water, you'll be totally invigorated. Don't go too hard at the start. It's easy to get overcome by shortness of breath simply because you went too hard when you started. So nice, easy for the first couple of buoys. Find your stroke, focus on technique. And then once you get to that second buoy, then you could start working on pacing, work on exerting yourself a little bit harder. Really spend those first two buoys just focusing on keeping calm, total exhalation, keeping your breathing under control, and you're going to make it through in no time at all, and it's going to be an awesome swim. Before you know it, you will be headed back to the beach, and you're going to be coming out, and the swim will be done. You'll be coming up this little sandy incline. It's not too far. You could start working on taking off your wetsuit. And at the top of this, just as you enter into the park, there are wetsuit peelers. So they will be waiting for you, eager to help you remove your wetsuit the rest of the way. There are also wading pools that you can use to get the sand off of your feet before you then make your way into the park to your bike. Now, once you get into transition, I can tell you that this is one of the nicest transition areas of any race. It is in a shaded, beautiful trees park, like unlike anything else that you will encounter. That being said, it's not the time to really admire the scenery or talk to your friends about how beautiful it is. Instead, you have to remember this is still a race. And so I want to encourage all of you to consider transition as part of your race time. And for that reason, you have to be quick. So you have to focus on where is my bike? How do I get to it as fast as possible? And then once I'm at my bike, how do I do the least number of things that need to be done in order to get out of there as quickly as possible? And the only way to figure all these things out is to, number one, really spend some time the day that you drop off your bike reconnoitering that transition. Spend some time looking at transition from various points of view. Go to the swim exit and see how many racks you have to pass to get to your bike. What's the fastest way to get from point A to point B? And then once you're at your bike, what's the fastest way to get to bike out? And then conversely, when you return, when you come back, what's the fastest way to get from bike in to my rack and then from my rack to run out? Learning all of these quick routes, identifying landmarks that are fixed, not things like garbage cans that can move, not things like balloons that people will take with them, but rather fixed things like, oh, I'm right next to that lamppost, or I'm right next to that tree with that funny looking branch, or something like that, that can really help you be as quick as possible in transition and can make things go much more fast. Much more quickly. The other thing is doing as little as possible. I can't tell you how many times I see people get into transition and decide this is a good time to have a snack, to put on all my sunscreen, to change clothes, to do all kinds of crazy things. It's a 70.3. It's a short race. If you apply sunscreen before the race begins, you're probably going to be good, at least until T2, if not for the whole race. You should not really need to change clothes. You should hopefully have a tri-suit that you can wear for the whole time, or at least when you finish the swim, you should be wearing clothes that are appropriate to bike in. If you need to change for the run, that's a different story. But for the most part, you should be ready to go once you come out of the water. So get the wetsuit off, be ready to go. Helmet on, socks maybe, and shoes if you're not used to having your shoes clipped in the pedals, then put your shoes on, but then get your bike and go. There's no point to doing anything more than that. Really minimize. And again, the way to figure all this out, what's the least you can do? The least number of things you can do is to practice, practice, practice. Set up a transition area, run through transition of peeling off your wetsuit, doing all the things you need to do to get on your bike, and then ask yourself, was there anything I could have done quicker? Was there anything I could have removed from that process to make it go faster? Because if you're a person who's trying to win, well, transitions can sometimes make the difference of moving up a couple of spots. And if you're someone who's just trying to make time cutoffs, well, transitions, they count. So making your transitions quicker, that's free. Just think about how hard you work to be faster on the swim, the bike, and the run. Well, it doesn't take almost any work at all to go a lot faster in transition. So the investment is very much worth the return. All right, once you're through that transition, we're on to the bike. And the bike course it's pretty legendary. It's a good one. It is a one lap bike course, although it does involve an out and back. Well, there's two out and back segments, I guess. So you're going to start your bike ride for the day here at Transition. You are going to go through the downtown onto this road, which I think of being the entirety as Lake Drive. It's not. It's really only Lake Drive, I think, towards the end of it. This is a very fast section of the course. It is closed road, as I recall, and it's wide open, lots of big open curves. There are some little bumpy parts, but nothing too dramatic, not a lot of elevation gain here at all. This is very, very fast, and it's a good place to kind of get your legs under you, to really start working on your nutrition and hydration, because the business end of the course is going to come once you get back through town and then start and make this left-hand turn, because everything up till here is fast and flowy, and you're going to be dealing with some traffic, but traffic of other cyclists, not cars. And you got to keep your head on a swivel just to make sure you're safe as you go through this. But this is a place not so much to make time, but to make sure you don't get too excited. Keep your legs under you, adhere to your power plan, really adhere to getting your nutrition and hydration in because it's going to be really important once you get to the back part of this course. And the reason I emphasize this is because this is what the elevation looks like. And this is why people get nervous about this course, is because they see this and they see that the total gain is 3,500 feet, which is a lot for a 70.3. Let's face it, there's a lot more than a lot of other courses. But all of it is packed into the back sort of 38 miles or so. So, that first 17 miles is pretty straightforward. There's not much going on. Like I said, there's a little bit of a lump. This is super fast, and the rest of it is nice and flat, and you're going to go very, very fast. But before you know it, you're making that left-hand turn, and you are starting up into the mountains, and that's where the business end of the course begins. And when I think about this course, I think about the fact that there are really three major hills. The first of these begins at 18.5 miles. The second one starts at 23.5, and the third of these begins at 47. The rest of it is really rolling. But if you can mentally prepare yourself for these three big hills, then I think you can sort of look at this course differently. There is a medium climb here at about 30 miles, but it's much quicker and not as steep as the other ones. So let's just think about how we're going to approach this course, because people who find this course difficult are people who don't plan for it in advance and then therefore get themselves into a little bit of trouble. And the one way you get yourself into trouble is by going way too hard on that first climb, because that first climb is pretty daunting. It's steep. You can actually see the road going up ahead of you. You could see cyclists sort of like strewn all up the way as they're going. And at that point, you've been moving really fast. And then you hit this hill and you kind of come to a stop, and you're putting out a lot of energy, but you're not moving nearly as fast. And that could be a little bit disheartening. But it's so important that you not burn any matches on these climbs, because if you do, you will pay the price later. You have to remember a 70.3 is not really completed by making, a hero of yourself on these climbs. It's accomplished well by being able to run well off of a solid bike. And the only way that you can run well is if you bike within yourself. So do not be baited by people who go past you on the climbs. Remember that most of the people who go flying by you on the climbs are not listening to the advice that I'm giving, which is to stay within yourself, keep spinning, and use the climbs to fuel and to hydrate for what's to come. Now, the descents are long and they are fast. So you can see, for example, this is a very steep descent and it takes, it's fast. So if you are somebody who's very good bike handler, very comfortable, the sight lines are great. There's no particularly sharp turns. You could see the road itself is fairly straight without a whole lot of curves. So you can get into aero and you can go very, very fast. If you're somebody who's not so comfortable, that's okay too. Sit up, put your hands on the bull horns, and keep your hands on the brakes, but try not to brake all the way down. Just brake yourself occasionally to keep your speed at a level that you feel comfortable with. Keeping your body upright will give wind resistance to slow you down as well. You're never going to get out of control on this course. It's not that steep. So if you are the person who doesn't feel comfortable going super fast, make sure you move to the right, because there will be people around who are going to feel comfortable going very fast and they need to pass you on the left. You get a lane and the shoulder to yourself, so you will have lots of room. So please don't stay to the left if you're going slow. Make sure you stay to the right and let the people going by, let them go by with lots of room. If you're a person who's going super fast and you feel comfortable doing so, make sure you're calling out all the time on your left so that people who are moving slowly know that you're coming and aren't going to, lose their focus or make sudden movements with their steering wheels because they were scared by you passing them very quickly. As I said, these three hills, they are important. They are definitely a an energy drain if you're not prepared. And so when you're training for this race, you want to make sure that you are working in a good amount of hill climbing into your training. What if you're somebody who doesn't live somewhere where you have a lot of hills that you can do that kind of training on? Well, you can do overgearing. So that means even if you're training on flat ground, you put your bike into a really big gear and then you start pedaling at very low RPMs. So you're pedaling at 60 or 70 RPMs. It's called an overgearing workout, and that simulates hill climbing. So there are ways that you can simulate hill climbing to try and be prepared for what you're going to face in this race if you don't have hills around you. But if you do have hills around you, I definitely encourage you to spend some time on them to get used to not only putting out the kind of power you'll need to in order to climb, but also being ready for the descending that you're going to have to do as well. Now, the bottom of the last big descent comes at around 52 miles, with just about 4 miles left to go back into town. And that's really going to be your last chance to hydrate and get fuel on board. So you want to be sure, and especially it's going to depend on what the weather is that day. Coeur d'Alene is notorious for kind of fickle weather. It can be very hot in June, it can be very cool. So if it's a very hot day, you want to make sure you're getting in lots of fluids during the bike ride. And because this descent is very, very fast, you're not really going to be able to take any food or hydration during the descent. But once you get to the bottom of it, and the bottom of it comes just around here, just before you cross over this sort of like inlet from the lake. This is a long flat section, and then you go over a bridge, and then you're going to turn back into down, and it's again downhill to the finish, but it tends to be a little bit less steep. So from this point forward, you really got to focus on your last bits of nutrition and hydration to get yourself set up for the run. Once you're back to transition, you're back in that lovely shaded park. Again, it's a beautiful transition area, but I have the same things to say this time as I did last time. Be quick. Make sure you've reconnoitered so you know exactly where you're going. Make sure that you practice your transitions in advance so you can do the bare minimum of number of things. And honestly, bike to run should be super quick. Drop your bike, drop your helmet, switch your shoes, grab your hat and race belt, and you're out. If it takes you longer than a couple of minutes to do that, you're doing something wrong and you need to practice more and more because this should be a very fast transition. The run course itself is a very nice run course. And as I mentioned earlier, incredibly well supported. So you are going to leave transition, and I've marked a couple of things here, which I'm going to come back to at the end. You are going to leave transition. You're going to head along the waterfront, then towards the downtown area. You are going to go through this lovely park, which is just to the east of the hotel. And you are then going to make your way into a neighborhood. This whole section here is through a neighborhood that residents will come out and set up water stations. They'll have music playing. Sometimes there's live bands. I mean, it's wild. It is just an amazing, amazing community experience, this whole race. Basically, from this point all the way until probably this point, you will have just tremendous amounts of support, and it's a great, great community experience. And this part is all pretty flat. It's a little bit rolling. It's a pretty fast run course from the start of the run all the way to when you make this turn onto the Lakefront Drive. At this point, you start running, you run up a little hill and then down to the turnaround. When you make the turn at the turnaround, you got to be ready and make sure your legs are ready because at the turnaround, you're then coming back up the hill. Now, there's not a ton of elevation gain here, but as you know, once you're getting into these runs, any kind of elevation gain certainly feels like a lot more than it actually is. And really, the only appreciable elevation gain is this section. So you will go down the hill past a water station, down to the turnaround. You'll make the turn, and then you got to come back up this hill. And like I said, it's not significant, but it feels worse than it is. You will come all the way back through the neighborhood. They will be cheering you on like madmen and madwomen. They are amazing. They are going to see you through the park where you will make a loop and then you will repeat the entire course again for a second time. And then when you return, the finish of the race used to be on the main street or one of these main streets in Coeur d'Alene. This year, the race conflicts with another event taking place. It's a car show with the awesome alliterative name Cardilan. And the Cardilan has forced the organizers of this race to change where the finish line is going to be. So instead of making the turn from the park and continuing to this street and then turning left to finish, you will now exit the park and retrace your steps back towards where you were for transition, and the finish is going to be somewhere along this route. The final map has not been released yet. Once it is, you will see more definitively where the finish is, and obviously once you're on the ground, it'll be very obvious, but it will be somewhere along this route as you make your way back towards transition. Everything else about the course remains the same. The temperature, as I mentioned, can be warm. It tends not to be overly humid, but there have been years where it has been. But for the most part, this is not a terribly humid race, but it can be warm. And if it is, it means you will be sweating, which means you need to be careful about your hydration. And I always get questions about salt. And I do want to warn people that the one thing that there's two mistakes you can make. You could take too little salt or you could take way too much salt. And these days, people tend to err on taking way too much. So if you're packing enough salt to, uh, basically salinate the lake and turn the lake into more something like more ocean water, you're probably carrying a little too much. So most people don't need that much salt, and the reason for that is because almost every drink that you're taking on the bike has quite a bit of salt in it these days, as will most of the things that you're getting on the run. So you're already getting quite a bit of sodium in everything that you fuel with and everything that you hydrate with. So any extra sodium that you're taking will generally tend to just be filtered out by your kidneys and turn into expensive pee. So I would be careful with how much salt you're taking and just think about it. I'm not saying you shouldn't take any because everybody is unique and everybody has their own needs, but most people who are taking salt supplementation are taking far too much. And most people either don't need to take any or they just need to take a little bit. And so talk to your coach, talk to your nutritionist, see what they think, but you probably don't need to be carrying as much or taking as much as you think you do. Just something to think about. Definitely talk to whoever it is you're working with, and they can guide you on that. All right, my last words of advice for you are once you have completed the run, please do take the time to enjoy your finish. Too often I hear from people that they don't remember anything about the last mile. And part of the reason for that is because they were so focused or they were just pushing themselves so hard that they kind of went dark and they didn't get to enjoy what they worked for. And the reality is that especially if this is your first event, you have worked so hard for this. You've put in so much effort into it, and all the people around you who have supported you and all the people who have encouraged you, they have basically wanted you to do this so that you could finish this event feeling like you had a great sense of accomplishment and enjoyed yourself. So that last mile, pause, turn it all down, really embrace the feeling of accomplishment, listen to all the cheers, soak in the moment, and that last 100 yards or so that's on that red carpet, really, really do enjoy it. You only get to finish these events the first time once. So if this is your first time, please make sure it's like something that you remember forever because you've earned it and you deserve it. That's everything I have to say about Ironman Coeur d'Alene on this particular day. I hope that you found this useful. In the chat, you will find information on how to reach me, and I would love to hear from you if you have any questions, any comments, if you have anything that you would like to know about anything I've said, or if you have questions about things that I didn't get to touch upon, then please do reach out, and I would be happy to speak to you. Until the next Conquer the Course webinar that we will have on the schedule, thanks for joining, and we look forward to seeing you out on the race course. Take care, everybody.